Hey, what's up guys, John here. Roughly a dozen new laws are now being worked on in America to take effect over the next several months that will change everything that we know about commerce and business inside of this great country. Now, we all remember some famous videos from Bernie Sanders blaming corporations, saying corporate greed. These are the people that are responsible for ripping off 330 million Americans during this record high period of inflation.
On one hand, you have corporate profits that are just soaring. I think this is a moment when we've got to tell corporate America, stop the greed.
Then Elizabeth Warren came out, a very similar video saying the same exact thing. We've even seen headlines saying inflation's our fault. Now, when you start to see all of these different headlines, you have to ask yourself, well, what is the proposed solution? Then you start seeing these laws. President Biden came out saying that grocery stores are ripping people off. He said this yesterday.
But for all we've done to bring prices down, there are still too many corporations in America ripping people off.
And so when you start to really pay attention to what they're saying, they're blaming the corporations, but what they're really doing is they're putting a big divide between the corporations and the American people so they can implant a solution to cap prices across the board. This is happening whether it be on late payments, on your credit card, overdraft fees to your bank account. I mean, even the rental prices in which you pay will be capped. It goes as far as even your job, side hustles being banned. All of these things are now being worked on. And what America needs to know is what these changes are going to look like to position and prepare for all of this in advance. And in this video, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to show you the dates. I'm going to show you everything that's going on to help you and position you for a world of uncertainty. Because unfortunately, America is going into a pretty challenging spot. Many years ago, people would come from all over the world, whether it be Mexico, the Philippines, Vietnam, it didn't matter. They would come here for a hope of opportunity, to work hard, provide really well for their family, create value for this country, and it was a really great thing. But now America is going through a big change, and I'm going to break this down for you. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button. YouTube will share this content to educate other people about what's going on, and if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for what I believe is going to be the greatest wealth transfer in American history, we'd love to help you out. My company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free strategy session. Take a look at this. So Biden takes aim at grocery stores for ripping people off amid continued high prices. Played for suckers. This came out yesterday, February 2nd. President Joe Biden took aim at grocery stores, blaming them for ripping people off with high pricing amid the continued inflation blame game. President Biden, his remarks came during a speech at South Carolina's First in the Nation's dinner of Columbia, South Carolina. Inflation is coming down. It's now lower in America than any other country in the economy, any other major economy in the world. The cost of eggs, milk, chicken, gas, and so many other essential items have come down. But for all we have done to bring prices down, there's still too many corporations in America ripping people off, price gouging, junk fees, greedflation, shrinkflation. President continued. The president said that America is tired of being played for suckers at grocery stores across the country. Well, it's going to stop. So you have to ask yourself, it's going to stop. What's happened over the course of the last several years with the cost of living? Everything has gone through the roof. It's not just, grocery stores taking advantage of people. It's health insurance is going through the roof. Car insurance is going through the roof. Energy prices are going through the roof. You name it. You can't name one thing, I can't, that has increased at 2 or 3% inflation over the last couple of years. Everything is up 30, 40, 50%. It's skyrocketing, and some even more than that. And so if all this is going up, employees nationwide are demanding a lot more to live. And so what's ultimately happening? Where are those prices going to get pushed off to? To consumers. And so how can prices come down if labor costs are going up and energy and insurance and everything is going up? If they do what I think they're going to do here, and this is an opinion, I'm going to show you. So mark the dates. January 28th, overdraft fees, late penalties could be slashed as White House continues attack on junk fees. They want to remove the overdraft fees from $35 and bring it to $3 to as high as $14. So essentially reducing the profit in which a bank could make by 75% on an overdraft fee. But you have to think about this. If you're a bank and you're lending money to somebody that does not have any money, would you lend them $200 or $300 for $3, $5, $10? No, definitely not, right? Who would want to do that? But at $35, sure. Yeah, that would probably make more sense for them. So you start to look at that. You're like, okay, then credit card regulations for late fees. Normally, it could be as high as $41. Now it's going to go to $8. So the incentive to pay your bills on time is going to be greatly reduced for a lot of consumers because all they see is, oh, $8 late fee. They don't take into consideration that one late fee on their credit report will stay on there for 7 years and can drop their score upwards of 180 points. They just look at, hey, $8 is $8, okay, right? And then you look at this. Biden administration issues rule to curb gig work. And the reason for it is they say that gig jobs are taking advantage of Americans because they are, they're not giving health benefits and they're not, paying them the true salary in which they're worth. In my opinion, salary is determined by value, what the employee provides to the employer, and then they make a win-win type of deal from that. If the employer is not getting the value from that employee, the employer is not going to hire that employee. Well, what is going to happen when you have Uber and Lyft and all these, large corporations, DoorDash, to where they're all going to be treating their employees as employees? What's going to happen? Massive layoffs across the board. And when you're looking at 55% of Americans over the age of 18 that have a side hustle, and this happens, you have to ask yourself, what's going to be the ripple effect on being able to pay your bills, whether it be your credit card bills, student loan bills, mortgage payments, rent payments, car payments. It's going to have a big impact, right? Then this came out. It came out about 8 days ago. Biden-Harris administration announces new actions to protect renters and promote rental affordability. So you can connect the dots here. You can see that this is a lot bigger than grocery stores. Like, this is a lot bigger than grocery stores. And so when you look at this, you're like, okay, what does this look like to protect renters? And when you protect renters, you protect one side, you take away, protections from another side, right? Today, the Biden-Harris administration is announcing new actions to increase fairness in rental markets and further principles of fair housing. Well, that essentially gets in the way of what a buyer and a seller is willing to pay, or a renter and a landlord is willing to, do a deal at. They're stepping in and they're taking control of that transaction. These actions align with a new blueprint for a renter's Bill of Rights that the administration is now also releasing today. The blueprint lays out a set of principles to drive action by the federal government, state and local partners, and the private sector to strengthen tenant protections and encourage rental affordability. What does that mean? To encourage rental affordability and to strengthen tenant protections. It means a big problem for a lot of mom and pop landlords. That's what that means. The Federal Trade Commission and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, both independent agencies, announced that they will collect information to identify practices that unfairly prevent applicants and tenants from accessing or staying in housing in order to inform an enforcement of and policy actions under each agency's jurisdiction. This is the first time the FTC has issued a request in information exploring unfair practices in the rental market. The two agencies will seek information on a broad range of practices that affect the rental market, including the creation and the use of tenant background checks, the use of algorithms and tenant screening, the provision of adverse action notices by landlords and property management companies, and how an application's source of income factors into housing decisions. And so you start to scroll down here. I mean, it's one thing after the next, but as a summary, safe, quality, accessible, affordable housing. Also, don't read the headlines, read between the lines. Look at it clearly, because a lot of these will have a really good headline, and people might just take the headline as what they're actually saying. So renters should have access to safe and decent and affordable, clean and fair leases, education and enforcement enhancement of renters' rights. Federal, state, and local governments should do all that they can to ensure renters know their rights and to protect renters from unlawful discrimination and exclusion. So basically being evicted. And so think about this. If a tenant has access to this, it's going to also equate to a different problem. If tenants, they constantly get more and more and more rights every month, it seems, every 6 months, every year, what is this going to do? If a tenant has access to a free attorney, they have no exposure. But if a landlord is, paying attorney's fees and, they're kind of in an uphill battle, what's this ultimately going to do? This is going to push a lot of these mom and pops into a really, really challenging spot. The right to organize. Renters should have the freedom to organize without obstruction or harassment from their housing provider and property manager. This means that tenants can go on strike. Like, you could have a 5-unit apartment building and one tenant doesn't like the landlord, gets the second tenant involved, the third, the fourth tenant, and then they all get together and then they go on strike, they organize. And eviction prevention, diversion, and relief. Renters should be able to access resources that help them to avoid eviction Ensure the legal process during an eviction proceeding is fair. Avoid future housing instability. So basically, it's not going to go on the record, and tenants essentially have no real downside. They basically can do anything that they want. And so you start to look at this, whether you're a tenant or a landlord, you look at this clearly, you can see that this is way bigger than just a landlord-tenant relationship. It's way bigger than just corporate greed and small business. This is huge. This is everything that we know about America being changed. Everything. I mean, like right here, like energy prices, for example. Energy prices go up 39.8%, right, over the last 3 years, 3.5 years, right? So, 4 years roughly, but like, since 2020. So when you start to look at this, you're like, okay, well, if that's going up 4% or 40% roughly, what is this going to mean for everything else? We have property insurance, car insurance, everything will at least follow that, because the parts for a car are going to be shipped, they're going to be flown in from overseas. All energy prices are going to be shipped and distributed on freight trains here and on freight trucks here. Like, you're going to see all of these costs being pushed on the consumer. Then he also, right here, this came out just a couple days ago, so you can track how fast it's moving. And this is, he's taking on them. I don't know about that, but this is what the headline says. And this came on just a couple days ago. Then FHFA's requests for public input on renter protection in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac finance properties received thousands of comments, including 17 Democrats from Senator Sherrod Brown, Democrat in Ohio. The letter asked FHFA to condition Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac mortgages based on various tenant protections, including limits on egregious rent hikes. Rents have risen 25% or more. So you think about that. Everything has risen 25% or more. Then $400 since 2019, according to the apartment search engine, rent.com. So you have to ask yourself, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, how many properties do they own? How many are they actually lending on? Answer, 70% of the entire mortgage market. So when you see these headlines and you see, well, it's going to stop. We're tired of being played for suckers. Biden said the resounding applause, and that's why we're going to keep these guys, keep them and get the prices down. Doesn't even make sense. The president's comment come as inflation still looms over many Americans' heads. At the grocery store, a recent Axios Vibes survey found that 59% of respondents felt angry, anxious, or resigned while shopping for groceries, with anger being the most common emotion. 72% of respondents also said that groceries are where they feel the most effects of inflation. Though inflation has largely fallen from record highs in 2022, prices are still significantly higher than they were before 2020. Based on data, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Americans must spend, look at this. This is shocking. The amount that Americans must spend is this. Overall, Americans are now paying on average $1,020 each more per month compared to the same time 2 years ago. $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year in cost. So you think about this. When they're going after banks, they're going after credit card companies, they're going after landlords, they're going after all these different industries to try to find that $1,000. What do you think is going to happen? Insane amounts of regulation are going to be coming. A lot of disruption is going to be coming. A lot of change for America is already underway. It's up for the smart aspiring entrepreneurs, just Americans to pay attention to all these things, to kind of plan in advance. My bet is that we're going to start to see a lot of landlords, mom and pops, leave this business the next couple of years, without doubt. And we're going to see a lot of opportunity for those that, have a really good business. Maybe they can buy properties all cash. Buy property all cash, because at the end of the day, a property is only worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it. And if buyers, aren't able to get financing, they're not able to rent out a property at a price point that's going to make sense, a lot of buyers aren't going to be able to, to be a buyer. So what's going to happen? It's going to be he or she who has the cash is going to be able to play the game. And that's what we're walking into. People that can walk in there, buy the properties outright, no Fannie Freddie debt on the property. They can self-insure it. They don't need property insurance. They can go in there and just buy the deal themselves. They're going to be able to, play the game by their own rules, right? Otherwise, this is going to be the new rule. What do you think about this entire situation? Drop below. What are your thoughts on the new America being worked on right now? Let's have a conversation about this. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself, maybe get business funding, maybe you're thinking about buying a car, maybe you have a big plan, you have big goals, make sure your credit score is in line with your goals. So if you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com, click the link in the description just below this video, schedule a free strategy session for Monday. Catch you in the next video.